Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me are my co hosts. You guys know them, Seamus, Andrew, and welcome to the show, Quincy. Great to have you on. A great time. You know, the Boston Celtics are cooking. We haven't recorded in a minute, so if you guys have been under a rock, you guys haven't known that the Boston Celtics. I was gonna pull this up later, but they advanced. The Boston Celtics are moving on, but before we wrap into that, I kind of want to just give our thoughts on that Magic series. It was a long, hard, battled series. I was very concerned with the injuries in that series. It was a tough series. I'll save my takes. Seamus, I want to start off with you. Boston Celtics beat them in five. Andrew and I predicted that. I don't remember your predictions, but we said Celtics in five. That's what ended up happening. What are your thoughts?
Well, we don't have to start with my predictions or Franco's predictions because before the series, we sounded like homers. We were going, oh, Celtics in four. Come on. And the Magic, they can't even score over 100 points. How are they going to grab a game? Well, the game in which the Magic grabbed, well, that was a 95 to 93 game. And the Magic still,
Yeah.
throughout 5 games, did not score over 100 points in this series. Not once. They scored 100 points, however, not over 100 points. But you could tell by the scores in this series, this was just a muck it out, physical, grind it out type of series by both teams, and give credit to both teams because I think they both walked away from the series. Obviously, the Magic not really happy. We've heard a lot there. They've been frustrated about the way they played, but I think they should be at least happy about the way they executed their game plan against the Boston Celtics because we saw from the Celtics side the entire series was completely uncharacteristic from how the Celtics want to play. The lack of 3-point shooting was evident from the Celtics in this series, and it was because the Magic's defense, the Magic defense, the whole entire game plan for the whole series against the Celtics was to allow Tatum and Brown to go one on one, leave them open driving lanes going towards the rim, and to not help. And they were staying home on the 3-point line and not allowing Boston to pass it out and kick it out to open shooters out on the perimeter. And Boston, we all know their game, the Celtics game is go downhill, go towards the rim, collapse the defense, make the help come over, and then bam, you have a wide open corner three, or bam, you have a wide open wing three off the hockey assist pass. We know the Celtics like to generate offense that way. They either like to get themselves downhill, get themselves easy baskets at the rim within the pick and roll game, whether it's Jason Tatum, Derek White, Jaylen Brown running the pick and roll with the ball in their hands, with Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Cornett, Al Horford, whether they're picking or pop, or whether they're picking and popping or picking and rolling. We know the Celtics like to run a lot of action going towards the rim. They like to make the defense collapse, and they either want to get themselves easy buckets at the rim, either one on one, or if the defense is coming over and helping, they're going to get themselves a wide open three. Well, Orlando's game plan in this series was to allow the Celtics to go one on one going down towards the rim. And we saw the Celtics, specifically Brown and Tatum, they had pretty big series. Obviously, Tatum, a bigger series than Brown. Brown had that really big game when Jason Tatum missed game two, which was so crucial in the Celtics going ahead and winning this series in the manner in which they did. But you see the Celtics, there was a lot of pressure and a lot of load put on Brown and Tatum, a lot of physicality thrown their way. And you gotta say that both of those guys took the physicality pretty well. And I know we saw them get a little banged up out there. Griffin, you talked about the injuries. Obviously, Jaylen Brown with the dislocated finger and Jason Tatum with the wrist. But ultimately, coming out of this series, the Celtics do have a couple of rest days in front of themselves, and closing it out in five was very crucial, not letting it extend another game. It felt like there for a moment in game four when it was tied 91-91, the Magic had a chance to send this to a sixth game and a crucial game five on the Boston Garden floor, and yet that didn't happen. Game five was obviously much of the same too, up until the point in which Paulo Banchero fouled. He didn't foul out, but he picked up his fifth foul with 9:46 to go in that third quarter, and then Jamal Mosley sits him the rest of that third quarter, and that's when we saw the Magic's game plan just completely fall apart. When you have somebody like Paulo Banchero who is making up over almost 50% of the Magic's offense during this series, when he exits the game, and you also look at what the Magic want to do from a defensive game planning standpoint, the versatility was completely taken away on both ends of the floor when Paulo Banchero exited the game in that game five. And that's when we saw the Magic. The lid just completely came out. The bottom of the barrel completely flooded out and completely came out from under them when Paulo Banchero went out of the game because his offensive and defensive impact. The Magic just could not survive that within that 9:46 stretch when the Celtics went on a 30-9 run. If you look at this entire series, that's the only run in which the Celtics, that was their best run of the series. Let's just face it. The game one, there was a little bit of a run there at the end of the third quarter into the fourth. You could point at that one, but for the rest of the series, the Magic certainly made it tough on the Celtics. However, the Celtics, they just have too much talent. They have a lot of defensive versatility themselves, and the Magic, they did not have enough offensive creation in this series whatsoever. After Boncaro, after Franz Wagner, both of those guys were flamethrowers in this series. However, the bench for the Orlando Magic and the rest of the starters, for as much credit as you can give the Magic defensively for what they did in this series, offensively they were just absolutely putrid, and it's been that way for most of the season for the Magic. We talked a lot about their creation and the 3-point shooting. I mean, they're dead last in 3-point shooting percentage in the NBA, and that showed itself during this series. They just couldn't keep up with the Celtics, and all that we talked about all series. The little margins, they were so important for the Magic to win. The rebounding battle, the turnover battle, the fast break transition battle, the field goal discrepancy between the two teams. That was huge for the Magic to take in this series. And we saw the Magic did a good job in some of those margins, but the Celtics at the end of the day, especially in that game five, once the Magic game plan completely came out from under their feet. They ran ahead of the Magic in quite a few of these games. Obviously, I mean, 4 out of the 5 games were able to run in front of the Magic at a certain point in the game, but it just shows the lack of versatility, the lack of depth the Magic had, and really all of the versatility and all the depth the Celtics have, considering Jason Tatum missed a game in this series. And that was a game in which the Celtics won. But I think later on in time, this series could be good for the Celtics, knowing that they played a different style. Obviously, in the first half of game five, the Celtics went 0 of 6 from 3-point land. That is just unheard of for the Celtics team. 0 of 6, not making a 3.5. That was the first time the Celtics had not made a 3.5 since October 30th of 2021. That was opening night against the Toronto Raptors when that was just one of the most horrendous Celtics losses this decade. The home opener where they just get blown out by 30 by the Raptors. But the Celtics, that was the last time they didn't make a 3.5, or the first half rather. But in the second half, 13 of 18 and 18 of their 48 shots in the second half came from 3-point land, which, if you look at the ratio there, 18 threes to 22s, that's where the Celtics, that's how they want to play. They want to be taking a high volume of threes. And you saw in that first half, the Magic, and throughout the series, the Magic completely prevented that from the Celtics. But the Celtics, once in that game five, they were able to overcome that in the second half because of Boncaro's absence. But just in general within this series, they just had more options than the Magic, and they met the Magic's physicality at moments too. And anytime the Celtics, this is what I said at the beginning of the series, is anytime they were winning those marginal battles, like the rebounding battle, like the turnover battle, if they were taking more shots than the Magic, it was pretty rare at moments in this series, the Celtics were just gonna blow away the Magic because they needed to win all those categories. Luckily for the Magic, they did win a lot of these categories in the series, but in the end, the Celtics, they just had too much firepower, and their game plan ultimately, just with the personnel in which the Celtics have on their roster, really shine through in this series. And nobody expected it to be close, but you certainly have to give the Magic credit for making us think that at times, yes, they were going to be competitive. Yes, they were going to compete. Yes, they could have sent it to a game six. Franco and I, we came on here during the preview thinking the Magic had no chance of winning a game because of their scoring issues. Well, the fact the Magic were able to muck up the game, slow down the pace of the game, and prevent the Celtics from. If you look at the Celtics scoring totals in this series, they were barely able to get over 110, and that was kind of the selling point of the Celtics in this series. Is they're going to be able to get to 110 almost every single game, and the Magic, they're barely going to get to 100. Yet the Magic did a good job of keeping the Celtics scoring opportunities low in particular, and then when those scoring opportunities came around, the Magic, they made it tough and physical on the Celtics, particularly Brown and Tatum, who did a lot of the work in this series, going downhill, going towards the hole, and getting buckets that way. And the Celtics, there are a lot of hard buckets in this series, in which I think next series against the Knicks, I think we're going to see the floor open up a little bit more for the Celtics, especially considering the Celtics in this series against the Magic. They were not able to mismatch hunt the Magic whatsoever. In series on the horizon for the C's, they're going to be able to go back to their mismatch hunting ways. Defenses are going to have to double Tatum or Brown. They're going to have to help off certain actions, and the Celtics are going to see a better scenario of themselves getting a high volume of threes up. They're going to see defenses who are going to allow them to take some of those open threes, and that's really going to help the Celtics later on down the line because the Magic just made that so tough, and they're one of the only teams in the NBA, maybe aside from Oklahoma City, maybe Minnesota as well. You look at different defenses around the league that could really do what the Magic did to the Celtics in this series. And again, credit to the Magic for what they were able to do defensively. However, offensively, just couldn't get the job done against this Celtics team. And at the end of the day, the Celtics, they brought the physicality themselves. They stuck with their game plan until it really shined through there in the second half of game five when everything fell apart for the Magic. And now going into the next series, the Celtics, they just played their best half of basketball in that entire series. Their best quarter, their best quarter was probably that third quarter, but their best half of basketball, they just played in that game five. And now they get to sit on that for nearly a week before going into the next series against the New York Knicks, the semifinal series that starts on Monday. That's certainly a great way to end the series against the Magic and a great note to end off on when you're especially resting for that amount of time. It felt like it was going to be a little bit sour coming off this series, the way the Celtics played. However, that second half of game five did a lot. I would say it did a lot to the Celtics' confidence moving ahead. And just looking at the Knicks and the Celtics series ahead, I think there should be a lot of confidence within us that the Celtics should be able to get the job done there, as they got the job done in round one against the Orlando Magic.
I love that. Andrew, what about you?
I like how the Celtics were able to adapt. Obviously their playing style is shooting behind the arc, getting a high volume of shots up, but the Celtics' ability to take what the Magic were giving them and attack the basket and draw fouls, I think it's a testament to their ability to really kind of shapeshift and morph within their play style, and that's always needed when you're not hitting your shots, when they're not falling beyond the arc, and you just got to find a way to score and win. So I just love that the Celtics found that within themselves, and I think that's an important piece as the playoffs continue. I also think from a physicality standpoint, I loved how the Celtics responded. They didn't retaliate. They didn't let it get to them. They just used it to their advantage, and they let it actually fuel them to then bring the physicality to the Magic and let that propel them into a successful series. And I talked about it on the previous I don't know which podcast, but while it might be slightly, it's not as nice to the Magic. It was sort of like I wouldn't say practice, but it gave them these reps of working harder and finding ways to deal with the physicality. For when they go into the Knicks series, it's just going to feel a little bit easier. They're not going to feel as much pressure, so decisions are going to be a lot more cleaner. They're going to have a lot better ability to make good decision on the offensive end and just attack matchups like Seamus said. And then finally, I'm very happy with how Tatum stepped up. He coming into these playoffs, he's been super consistent, averaging like 31 points, I believe, with 11 rebounds per game. I felt like the Magic lit a fire within him that's already been lit between not playing in the Olympics, just getting this hate for not having, the aura and all this, it's just the fact that he has really feels like he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, and he seems like he's leading more. He's more vocal. He's on the defensive end, just taking charge. And I think that if we can carry that over to the playoffs and just as the playoffs continue, I'm very excited to see the way he's going to impact the team from a leadership level and just from pouring in buckets and making the defense strain on the defensive end.
I love it, Andrew. Quincy, welcome to the show again. What are your takes on the series versus the Orlando Magic?
Yeah, I thought the Celtics did a very good job defensively, obviously, against the Magic. But like Seamus said, I think Paulo picked up 3 fouls in in a minute and 30 seconds in the third quarter. I think that in Game 5 really did a job for the Celtics because the Celtics won the quarter 36-13 in the third quarter. I think that is what made them go away with that game a little bit. I think a lot of people after that third quarter knew it was wraps. I think they just got to keep up the level of intensity. They can't play down to people's levels. I think they tend to do that a lot, even throughout the regular season. Like when we play teams that we know we should beat, I think we tend to kind of take our foot off the gas a little bit. I
Yep.
think we can't do that in the playoffs. We just gotta full go on them every game. I thought we knew the Magic were gonna put up a fight, and at least I thought they were gonna get a game, maybe two. But I think the Celtics just came out better. They shot 56% from the field in Game 5 and 54.2 from three. So I think that helps a lot when you can shoot the ball that well. But they just have to be more consistent. But yeah, I think the next series is definitely going to be a great matchup for us. I think we match up well with them. I mean, as you know, we beat them all 4 games this season. So I think that's running in the mind a little bit for the next two, though. I think they get a little blood. They want more. I think they want it a little bit. I think the Celtics just need to play how they can, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, Quincy, you
Quincy.
said it right there. I've been saying this, and
Gas
you
pedal.
guys,
The gas
yeah,
pedal.
that's what I've literally said all season. It's the fact that the Celtics, and this is what they do a lot. They'll play around with them and other teams. Like I remember back a long time ago. You remember that night too, Seamus, with the 2 hours and 45-minute Utah game. I was upset because the Boston Celtics they don't like to keep their foot on the gas pedal. I mean, the thing is being consistent and just doing that all the way through. So I love that take. But my initial thoughts after this series win is I'm impressed. I'm happy. And I think we've talked about this so many times. The Magic are not a normal 7 seed team. They aren't. Let's just be honest. They're a lot better than that. They have great defense, and you guys quote me if I'm wrong. They're probably going to be the best defensive team we see all playoffs. Regarding if we face the Thunder, I feel like they are one of the better defensive teams, and it was a tough one. And like Seamus already mentioned too, we got banged up. I mean, I'm going to show this. This is one of my favorite graphics, but it's something funny. So I was just at the Garden recently, and I don't know if everyone could see it, so I had a zoomed in one. These are the statues they have out there outside of TD Garden inside the building, and someone put a band-aid on his head right there. So you got the KP right there, but the Boston Celtics were banged up, and it was a battle this series. It really was. And I'm gonna go as far to say that this series was kind of like the Pacers series. I said it was going to be like that from the get-go, and I think it kind of was that. But before we move on, obviously, because we're all done with the Magic, we don't want to think about the Magic. Oh wait, Quincy.
I got one more thing. I think
Yeah.
Drew Holiday missing those last 3 games was really big for us. I think
Yes, thank you for mentioning.
missing out on him was just like another person we didn't really get to rely on as much defensively, obviously, but offensively too, because he's just a great overall guard, can do a little bit of everything. But I think having him out those last 3 games kind of puts us another step forward. Hopefully we can get him back game 1. If not, hopefully definitely game 2, because I know that he's been working his tail off to get back and ready to go. So hopefully he can come back.
I agree. I feel like, honestly, I'm gonna say that's why we lost that game. I'm gonna say that, but I agree. I wanted to mention Holiday. That's a name that we didn't mention. But before we continue getting to that, I think it's time. I've been waiting.
The Boston Celtics.
Oh man, you gotta be careful with that stuff. You gotta be careful.
It's the Boston Celtics version. It's a
Okay, I'm saying, we gotta get the lawyers in here after the other
Boston
night.
Celtics. Oh, that's right. Orlando Magic are gone. I'm tired of them. I'm tired of them, and I'm ready to hear that song. You know what I'm gonna do after the podcast? See this speaker? It's getting played, and it's getting played a billion times in my room all night. All night, I'm gonna be blasting it. I'm gonna have the headphones on. It's time. Listen, we were on that podcast with Cortez, and I said I don't want to hear that song. I will listen to that song later after the series wraps up. I did not listen to that song. But before we get into Drew Holiday, Quincy, welcome to the show again. First time on the show, I want to ask, you're obviously the ball boy for the Maine Celtics. So in the off season, I would love to get in depth with that. But I want to ask you, what's your thoughts on the playoffs this year? And are we going back to back? That's just my question because you're new to the show. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here, Griffin.
Of course.
I think the next series is going to be a good one. I think the Knicks are going to give us a run, but looking past them a little bit, we don't want to look past them, but I think the Pacers and the Cavs could be a very good series as well. I think a lot of people are overlooking the Pacers. I think the Pacers have experience and they know where they're at. They've been playing as a group very well recently. I mean, Tyrese, you saw in that last game just kind of take over. They were down 5 with under 20 seconds to go, and they came back and won. I think he's a difference maker in that game. I think Pascal, I think all of them, Nemhard, I think all of them just kind of all play together. I think and go off the Celtics. I think that the Cavs are a very good team, though. You can't put them away. Donovan Mitchell, I mean, that man's is a beast. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, they're just an all good around team. So I think whoever it ends up being, I think the Celtics can take care of business either way. But yeah, I think we definitely are going back to back this year. I think the West is wide open. I mean, you saw Ant the other night. I mean, he just different level, man. I mean, I thought Luka and LeBron were going to dominate that West side. I mean, obviously the Thunder. But I think overall, the Timberwolves, the Clippers, Nuggets series, that series is great. Kawhi's looking better than he ever has. But I mean, no, I just don't see anyone. If the Celtics play the way they can, I don't think anyone can beat them in a 7-game series. That's clear as day as that. I don't think any team's beating them in a 7-game series. Maybe one game, maybe two. But I don't think in a 7-game series they're going to lose to anyone.
Oh, 100%. And you said it. We've all talked about it already. I was going to pull this up earlier, but it's time. Enough about the Magic. It's time to move on to the next series. I mean, I'm gonna say this though before we even let's go with it. Seamus, give us your initial thoughts going into the Knicks. I'm excited for the series. What should we expect? Let's dive right into it.
Well, first, the Knicks, despite being the 3 seed and holding that 3 seed for most of the season, I see this as a lighter matchup for the Celtics opposed to the Orlando Magic, who the Celtics just faced in the first round, who are a 7 seed. The Knicks, if you look at their series against the Pistons, obviously there's a lot to draw from that series alone. But just looking at how the Knicks run as a team, first of all, offensively, they're not very creative. They're very predictable. Jalen Brunson, he is their catalyst on the offensive end of the floor. He makes up the bulk of their offensive play. And then Karl Anthony Towns, he's that other pillar on the offensive end of the floor, particularly in that low post and in pick and pop situations. Both of those guys are going to run the offense for the New York Knicks, and you know exactly where the Knicks offense is going to come from. Outside of Towns and Brunson, you have Hart, you have Anunoby, you have Mikal Bridges, who are in the starting lineup. They're all going to play major minutes. The Knicks, if you look at the Knicks lineup, especially during this series against the Pistons, and just all season, quite frankly, if you look at the Knicks all season, their lineup has been pretty short all year long. And just last night, if you look at the lineup of the Knicks, you have your typical starters out there, but then off the bench, you have Miles McBride, Campaign, and Mitchell Robinson. That's who's coming off the bench for the Knicks in this playoff series against the Celtics, and who just came off the bench for the Knicks in their playoff series against the Pistons. So they go about 8 deep, and you're going to see a lot of minutes come out of the starters. But essentially, you have your offensive pillars there in Brunson and Towns, but then Hart, Anunoby, and Bridges, they're more of your defensive oriented players. Yes, Bridges, he's a great shooter and he can do some things off the dribble, but it hasn't come at the most efficient clip this year for the Knicks. And there's certainly seems like the Knicks wanted to tap into more of what could have been with Mikal Bridges this season than what they actually did. And at this point in time, I thought it was pretty evident during that Pistons series that the Knicks were just missing another offensive presence at certain moments in the game because they were relying way too heavily, especially last night in Game 6 down the stretch. And then this is kind of typical of the Knicks to do. It's not out of the ordinary, but they rely on Jalen Brunson so heavily down the stretch of games. We saw it last night. We've been seeing it all season long because he won Clutch Player of the Year. And part of the reason Jalen Brunson walked away with that award, not only was he a tremendous talent down the stretch of games for the Knicks, he was somebody in the entire, if you look at the entire league, he was somebody who was taking a very high volume of shots late in the fourth quarter. And the amount of shots he takes late in games, especially crunch time situations, Jalen Brunson looking at his resume, the specific amount of attempts in which he takes, it's amongst the highest in the league. So we know the Knicks offense is going to be heavily reliant on Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. However, their defense, that's where the Knicks are just not going to be able to match up against the Celtics as well as the Magic did last series. And we're going to see some higher scores. So people who love offense, people who love 3-point shots, people who love points. This is going to be the series for them. I should say, opposed to what we just saw in the Celtics Magic series. I don't expect this series to necessarily be a barn burner like you might see against the Pacers and the Hawks in a regular season game, but I do expect the series to yield a lot more points from both teams from what we saw in the first round, specifically looking at the Celtics Magic series. The Celtics in that series, the defensive versatility of the Magic really stymied the Celtics. And the Celtics, they weren't able, I already mentioned it here on this program, the Celtics weren't able to mismatch hunt against the Magic. Every single player in which you looked at on the Orlando Magic, you didn't necessarily want a switch on. There were a couple players the Celtics felt comfortable trying to switch on. Corey Joseph, Gary Harris, most notably Cole Anthony. He was the weakest link of the Magic defense, but even Gary Harris and Corey Joseph, they're pretty hard-nosed defenders and they're pretty experienced guys as well. There's a reason they've been in the league for so long and been able to stay in the league. They're not the best defensive players because of their size, their height, but at the same time, they do have that experience and they do have some of that physicality and effort we saw them emit against the Celtics. And the Knicks next series, yes, they're going to have guys like Mikal Bridges and Anunoby, two guys they brought in essentially last year, last season with Anunoby, and then over the offseason with Mikal Bridges. Those are two guys the Knicks brought in to deal with Brown and Tatum. And that's going to be a tough matchup for Brown and Tatum to go up against an Anunoby or Bridges one-on-one. However, there shouldn't be much of that in the series whatsoever if the Celtics revert back to their mismatch hunting ways, in which they will during this Knicks series, because they're going to have a lot of opportunity to mismatch hunt guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, who are going to be making up the bulk of the offense for the Knicks, but also going to be responsible for a lot of the liabilities in which the Knicks own against the Celtics on the defensive end of the floor. That's where the Knicks they just fall. That's where they just are not a serious contenders. Their two best offensive players are also defensive liabilities on the floor. And the Celtics, they're going to hunt Jalen Brunson. They're going to hunt Karl Anthony Towns on the perimeter, and you're just going to see the Celtics' best offensive capabilities come out of this series when it comes to mismatch hunting and finding the shots in which they want. The Knicks, they're going to be able to score some points themselves, unlike the Magic in that first round series. The Knicks are going to score some points in the semifinals, but ultimately, defensively, that's where we've seen the Celtics just feast against the Knicks all season long is the Knicks don't have much depth. They have two guards coming off the bench, Cam Payne, Miles McBride. Those are two smaller players. And yes, Miles McBride can be a more defensive oriented player, but that's where the offensive game, that's where the Knicks, if you look at the entirety of the team, outside of Brunson and Towns, there are just not many offensive options. I mean, off the bench, Miles McBride, Cam Payne, one's more offensive oriented, one's more defensive oriented, but there's a trade off. There's a trade-off with a lot of teams off the bench, but specifically with those two guards, you're trading one for the other in terms of their capabilities. And then Mitchell Robinson, we've known from his ability, he has he has some defensive versatility within his game, and obviously he's a great rebounder and he's a physical player. But he's just another player in this series that at the Knicks, if they try to play him or go double big with him and Towns, the Celtics can match with a double big lineup that's even more versatile than what the Knicks can bring within their double big lineup. The Celtics can bring out Horford and KP. They can obviously bring out Cornette if they really wanted to play Kata. This could be a Kata spot series in some moments if Robinson is out there. I wouldn't expect a huge role or anything for Kata, but at the same time, if need be, he's another player the Celtics could go look at throwing into the lineup during this series, as we saw him a couple of times this season against the Knicks. But this series should be a gimme for the Celtics, quite frankly. I mean, if you look at the two series already set in the Eastern Conference, the Cavs and Pacers, and then the Celtics and Knicks. The Celtics and Knicks, for as hyped as we've been for a New York Boston series for the last couple of years, I mean, this is the third year it almost happened and actually did finally. I mean, the Pistons were trying their damnedest to not make it happen last night, but it finally happens. For as much hype around this series as there is, the more interesting series is definitely Cavs versus Pacers. That's a little bit closer between the two teams than the Celtics and the Knicks. I understand it's the 2-3 matchup, but the Knicks, they've been inconsistent for a lot of this season. I think what's going to be a huge factor in this series too, and we saw it come out last series, is just the physical grind in which a player like Jalen Brunson takes with all the responsibility he owns on the offensive end of the floor. And then also just the fact their starting lineup, they're going to be playing upwards of 40 minutes. They go 8 deep. They don't necessarily trust their bench. Cam Payne, Miles McBride, Mitchell Robinson, they're not going to play major minutes. So that means the starting five, they are going to be playing upwards of 40 minutes every game this series. And in that scenario, I'm definitely seeing the outcome late in games where the Celtics, they simply just have more energy, more fight, more effort than the Knicks in the crunch time scenarios potentially in these games, and just late game scenarios, whether it's the third quarter, fourth quarter. It was very evident last night. The Knicks were tired at the end of that game, and the Pistons, just throughout the game, the Pistons seemed to have more energy. And obviously the Knicks came out with the game, but it was a theme throughout the game where you just felt like the Pistons, especially playing in front of their home crowd, they had more energy than the Knicks. And we've been saying this about the Knicks throughout the regular season is, look, when you're playing them, when the Knicks, when Tom Thibodeau is playing them upwards of 40 minutes a game in the regular season, that's going to matter later on down the line when other teams like the Celtics are preserving their guys like Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and even Tatum and Brown down the stretch at different times, and Derek White every now and then. When the Celtics are preserving their guys during the regular season and cutting some of their minutes down, cutting some of their load down, and the Knicks are doing the exact opposite. They're ramping up every single minute they can possibly get for their starters throughout the regular season, and then going into the playoffs, what's inevitably going to happen is the Knicks are going to be more tired than the Celtics. And I think that's going to play out in this series. I think that's going to be a huge factor, especially if this series goes a little bit longer than, say, there are going to be some 4-game opinions on this series. I haven't landed on an official prediction yet on the Celtics Knicks series, but if it goes farther than 4 or 5 games, I think game 6, game 7, that's when you could really see the fatigue of the New York Knicks shine through, especially knowing they played an extra game against the Pistons. Their games against the Pistons were a lot more physical. They were very tough to win for the Knicks, especially down the stretch. Very high pressure scenarios within that series. And then the Knicks just playing the way in which they played all season long, just the major minutes put on these guys by Tom Thibodeau. That's going to play a factor in this series if it does go 6 or 7 games. And I quite frankly, 6 or 7 games seems like a little bit too long for this series, especially considering the defensive mismatches in which the Celtics are going to hunt this series, and quite frankly, the Celtics are going to find success in finding the open looks in which they want to find within their offense. It's just a matter of, can the Celtics hit those looks or not? If they're open, the Celtics should be able to hit those looks. But that's what's projected within the series, is the Celtics are going to have a lot of open looks. They're going to have a lot of moments in which we're going to see Tatum mismatched on Brunson. We're going to see Derek White, Drew Holiday, Tatum or Brown mismatched on Karl Anthony Towns on the perimeter, a slower big, and we're also going to see Kristaps Porzingis too. He's going to be able to space the floor as well as Al Horford, and really challenge a guy like Karl Anthony Towns to defend on the perimeter as well. And I think the Celtics, just looking at this entire series, there's certainly a lot of areas in which they can win a game against the New York Knicks, and we saw that play out throughout the regular season when the Celtics beat the Knicks in all 4 games they played this year, and very handily in 3 of them. The fourth one took overtime, of course, but end of the season circumstances, I don't know if you can count that one as similarly as some of the others when it came to the matchups in which we'll see out there in this playoff series. But the Celtics and Knicks, we've been anticipating this for quite some time, and unfortunately for Knicks fans, and maybe unfortunately for Celtics fans, I think it'll be great for Celtics fans at the end of the series, maybe regardless of the result. But the Celtics are coming out with this series victory, and they're going to do it in a fashion in which I think a lot of people will think, oh, that seemed a little easier than what we just saw against the Orlando Magic. That I think that's going to be on the horizon for the Celtics in this series against the Knicks.
Yeah, before you go, I want to say something I forgot to say earlier that my older brother mentioned. We faced such a great defensive team that, and Seamus, you kind of already said it. That's why it brought sparked back up into my head. But we faced such a great defensive team that scoring is going to come easy for us now. Like, scoring is going to be a factor here for the Boston Celtics in the upcoming games. But Andrew, what are your takeaways now facing the Knicks? I'm interested to hear.
Yeah, first of all, I agree with Seamus. They're going to be attacking Brunson and Towns. They're going to be forcing them into defensive scenarios that they don't want to be in. And then from there, the Celtics are then going to attack that and make kickouts and get into the paint. I think an interesting fact to note was on the NBA. They said that the Celtics put Towns over the series in 134 Towns and Brunson in 134 pick and rolls over the series, right? So we want to attack Brunson and Towns, put them in those pick and roll scenarios, and then force them to make the mistakes. Whether they play in drop coverage, we attack from drop coverage. I don't think they'll be switching majority of the game, but we just have to find ways to pick them apart, and I think we have the capabilities to do that. I think another thing that's important to note, Seamus also said it, but just kind of put a different twist on it. These guys play a lot of minutes. Thibodeau likes to keep them in the game, and they don't. And granted, their depth is not as good, so they need these guys to come up big. But I think it's super important for us when since we're going to put Towns and Brunson through those screens, we got to make them work on the defensive end. We have to make them tired. We have to push them. We have to make them feel the screens. We got to be physical with them and just make them fatigue. So on the offensive end, their life's a lot harder because Jalen Brunson has like a 29% usage rate. He wants the ball in his hands a majority of the game. So if we're putting him through screens on the defensive end, tiring him out, and then we're making him play on the offensive end a large percentage of the offense, it's just going to be tough for Brunson to be able to sustain that. So, and I think we got to throw a bunch of different guys at him. You know what I mean? Don't just have Brown defend him. Throw fresh legs at him and continue to just apply pressure to Brunson. I'd also say Brunson and Towns are going to get theirs, right? We got to make sure we contest it, make all their shots hard, and make it difficult for them to get points. But I think it's another thing, just take away Brunson and Towns and just see what the other offensive players can do. If McBride has a crazy game Anunoby has a crazy game or Mikal Bridges, like, so be it. But let's see if they can beat us rather than Brunson in Towns. And then other than that, I just think that, like we said, it's gonna be tough for the Knicks to sustain themselves over a long series. And I really believe that we just need to win the physicality. We need to win the boards. We need to win all these, like, the details that create an opportunity to win, and just stick to the game plan. So I think that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Well, let me add on to this as well. When we talk about Jaylen Brown, like you made a tremendous point there, Andrew, of how we want to make Brunson work on both ends of the floor and tire him out. He's already tired. I can see it in the fourth quarter against Detroit. That's what made that performance even more impressive from Jalen Brunson in that game 6 is knowing, okay, this man, he's taking on so much of a load. You can see his fatigue out on the floor. You can see how slow he's bringing the ball up. You can see how long it takes for the New York Knicks to actually get into their offense with Brunson. And you can tell when he actually has the ball, sometimes he doesn't always have that same burst going towards the rim that we're accustomed to seeing in the regular season. But also, we have to think about, too, the defensive capabilities of the Celtics. In the first round series, it was more about the Celtics offense versus the Magic's defense. And the Magic's offense, it wasn't a series in which the Celtics defense had to go crazy because the Magic, they couldn't hit an outside shot to save their lives. I mean, they were not hitting an outside shot whatsoever. I mean, KCP is their one volume 3-point shooter, and he didn't even have that great of a year from beyond the arc. He struggled in part of the year, and then in the series against the Celtics, there were just no 3-point threats on the floor for the Magic, and a lot of the offense was coming from Boncaro and Franz Wagner, and some of the same themes applied to them too. When those two guys are taking on such a load and playing the amount of minutes in which they are, and their responsibilities are so high on both ends of the floor, those two guys are going to get a little bit tired at the end of games. And we saw against the Magic, the Celtics' defensive versatility and capabilities. It wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't needed because obviously you need to defend in order to actually win a playoff series. But it wasn't. It wasn't at a point of emphasis against the Magic. It was more about the Magic's defense and the Magic's terrible offense and what the Celtics offensively could do against the Magic in order to run ahead in that way because the Magic were just never going to score points against the Celtics. This Knicks series, however, there's a case to be made that this Celtics defense, I mean, this is where they could really shine. This is really a series where you could shut down Towns and you shut down Brunson, and the Knicks have nothing else, and they're scoring under 100 points each game, and that's for a team who is not the Orlando Magic, not a team without offensive creators. You have a lot of size to throw at Brunson in this series. You have a lot of size to throw at Towns in this series. You have KP, you have Al Horford, you have Luke Cornett to throw at Towns, and even if you needed to throw Jason Tatum, Jason Tatum is physical enough to go up against Towns in certain scenarios. But Brunson, I mean, Brunson is pretty clear. You have Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all those, even Peyton Pritchard. This is why Peyton Pritchard had such a massive game at Madison Square Garden in the middle of February. This is a Peyton Pritchard matchup. But when you have a small guard like Jalen Brunson out there, Jalen Brunson, he's going to try to go one-on-one with Peyton Pritchard, and the Knicks are going to try to attack that mismatch on the floor. But we all know Peyton Pritchard can hold his own on the defensive end of the floor, and then on the other end, Peyton Pritchard is somebody that's where most of his attributes are on the basketball floor. As we see him for what he is as an offensive player, particularly a shooter for the Celtics off the dribble. But this could be a Peyton Pritchard series where the Celtics feel comfortable playing him ever more so in a series like this, knowing on the defensive end of the floor, the height advantage or the height mismatch. That's why I think maybe not this specific reason, maybe not Peyton Pritchard specifically, but against the Pistons just had a little bit more size to their defense than the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks do have some great defensive players in the middle of their rotation there in Hart, Anunoby, and Bridges. But in terms of Brunson and him with the ball, if you were to face the Detroit Pistons as the Celtics and you threw Peyton Pritchard out there, well, who's Cade Cunningham? Who's Cade Cunningham going after in that series? Cade Cunningham, 6'7", 6'8", he is going straight at Pritchard in those scenarios. And now you have a guard who's a similar size to Pritchard going up against Pritchard. That is probably going to give Joe Mazzulla and the coaching staff a little more comfortability in playing Pritchard for longer stretches, knowing on the defensive end of the floor, he's not as much of a liability in this series against a matchup like Brunson, knowing those two guys, they're somewhat of the same size, and you're not going to see a major height advantage or size advantage cast for the New York Knicks if you put Peyton Pritchard out there in this series for elongated stretches. So from that perspective, I mean, the Celtics, they have a chance in this series to really show what they're about defensively. I think all season long, we've seen it come out of the Celtics at different moments and times where they've been just a phenomenal defensive team. But the reason they didn't put up the same defensive numbers this year as they did last year's, they were not always consistent in wanting to put in the effort on that end of the floor. And we talked about some of the bad habits formed throughout the regular season. They came around at the end of the regular season. I would say they were there in that Magic series. Outside of certain stretches, late in games, maybe point out Game 3 specifically at the end of that game. Even though Magic only scored 95 points in that game, there were still stretches where you felt like, the Celtics defense maybe isn't up to the level in which we expect them to be at this certain point in the game. But those bad habits, that's why the Celtics, that in this series, the Celtics have the ability to potentially eliminate and eradicate all of the narratives when it comes to their bad habits on the defensive end of the floor, because this is a series where the Celtics could really shut down the Knicks with their size, with their length, with their versatility on Brunson and Towns specifically, and make the New York Knicks look absolutely silly for some of the offseason moves they made in the past, and just some of the moves in which they made in general of the past, in which had people thinking that they were actually competitive with the Celtics team. The Celtics defense has the chance to put an end to the bad habits narrative, and they have a chance to make the Knicks just look absolutely far away from the Celtics in this series. That's where we're gonna land most likely on the Knicks after this series. Anyways, the Knicks, we understand, coming into the season, they wanted to contend with the Celtics, but from opening night and from each of the four matchups, so far the Knicks have not made any ground within that goal whatsoever of contending alongside the Celtics in the East. And I think this series, the Celtics defense has the chance to just blow that vision of the Knicks contending against this iteration of this Celtics team out of the water with how they could shut down Brunson and Towns in the series. This could be a series where the Celtics defense really shines through and becomes the talk of the town, as much as the Celtics offense might become the talk of the town in this series.
Yeah, sure. And then real quick, you're talking about Pritchard's size. I mean, you have to look at it too in other ways. Like, they have obviously Mitchell Robinson, good defensive center. They have Cat. I mean, he has like 1.7 blocks. He's solid rim protection, but they're gonna try to pull Cat out, right? So then once you pull Cat out, I mean, yeah, maybe Robinson gets some minutes here. He's gonna have a good role and he's gonna get minutes, but it's like, obviously, I mean, Thibodeau might, you never know, but you can't play Robinson the whole game, right? I mean, he's gonna get tired. He's gonna lose, some. He's gonna get fatigued. So if we can pull Cat out, the ability to just attack the rim and get to the hole too is just it's gonna be open there as well. So I mean, there's just so many ways to attack this team that it just seems hard for the Celtics to kind of to fall behind and not produce on the offensive end. And then also Cat leads the league. There's like tied for like most fouled out games as well. So
Yeah.
He's like he's like a more skilled Jaren Jackson. Like, they just cannot. They are almost. I mean, Jaren Jackson a little less so, but Towns, he's a decade into his NBA career, and just, I mean, it was a problem in the 2022 playoffs. We're in 2025. It's like still a problem.
Figure it out. Fouls. I mean, and we just showed that we can attack and we can draw fouls on the Magic. So it's like, man, there's a lot of hope for a Celtics fan seeing that there's so many ways that we can exploit this Knicks defense and win the game. So,
and I'll add in too, the margins for the Celtics, like the first two series, the Knicks and the Magic, it's like their margins were so thin. I mean, the Knicks, this is going to be another series where the Knicks are going to have to win every single battle against the Celtics. Yeah. The rebounding battle, the turnover, they're going to have to take more field goals. They're going to have to win all the little marginal battles in this series. Whereas the Celtics, I mean, seriously, their margins against these teams, so large. so large. I mean, the versatility that it showed itself in game 2 against the Magic when Jason Tatum. I mean, imagine if Nikola Jokic goes out of the Nuggets lineup for game 7. I mean, that would be detrimental. That would be all hands off on the Nuggets. That would be done. The Celtics, they lose Jason Tatum in game 2, and it's like, oh, cool. We'll just have Jaylen Brown score 36 points, and it's like that's the juggernaut you're dealing with in the Celtics, and that's where the Knicks. I mean, their margins are thin, whereas the Celtics' margin of error in this series is just. I mean, you could miss a Tatum and make a case that Brown could actually take over this series and win it for the Celtics.
Yeah, and in my opinion, like the Magic almost felt like they were better on the offense, like better with those little intangibles that you need to beat
Yeah.
the Celtics team, you know? So I mean, it's just like we said, it just seems like it's just an easier matchup. It just seems like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree in some way. I think that Anunoby could go off by himself. I mean, I don't think we can all keep our eyes on just Brunson and Towns here. I think Anunoby has shown throughout the season that he is capable of scoring that rock just as well as anyone else. I think his size, I mean, if he's on, he's on. He can shoot the ball. He can get to the rim. Same thing with Bridges. I think Bridges isn't capable to go out and do it himself, but I think he definitely can put up a good shooting night. If he's on just as well. But yeah, I think Brunson is going to be one of those guys. He could shoot him into the game, and he definitely could shoot him out of the game as well. Just depending on if he's on or off. I think Towns is another one. I think. I mean, he finished Game 6 versus the Pistons, and they won he had 10 points. He shot 4 for 10 from the field, and misses only 3-pointer that he took. I think if the Knicks want to have any shot, he's got to be able to score more than 10 points, because if he's scoring 10 points in a game, I think the Celtics are going to beat him by 25 plus. I think their defense is too well to match up on the other guys. But like I said, I don't think we can focus just on Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, because OG can go off any night, and so can Bridges. But I think if we play our game, we're more than capable. I mean, we're 9-1 against the Knicks the last 10 games. I like those numbers very much. But yeah, if we can contain Towns and Brunson, I like our luck a lot. Even with is Precious playing for them? Is he hurt? Or is he
I
playing?
believe he's out of the lineup right now.
He's out, yeah.
With an injury, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that helps us a lot. That was another guy I think that helped them a little bit size-wise, but yeah, I think a lot of this is going to open up our shots, because I mean, even Josh Hart, he's another guy, like he's a beast in their boarding, and they're getting bored. So I mean, I think we got to really make sure we're locking down the rebounds, because if we rebound and play defense, we win this series 4-0, I think. But it's all a matter of if they want to play hard every single second or if they want to let off. But I mean, I think Hauser and Pritchard, they're going to get good minutes, like you guys said. I think Pritchard definitely, he's going to have a game where he goes off. I think I'm feeling it this series. I think he's going to have a game where he has 20 plus points. I just feel it. I think down the stretch of this last series, I think the last 2 games, maybe even 3, he just wasn't really getting his shots off. I think he maybe got like 1 or 2, maybe 3 shots a game. He wasn't shooting the ball a lot. Game 4, I know that for a fact. Game 3 too. He picks up a couple early fouls. But I think sometimes we just get to the point where like it's a JT show a little bit. Sometimes he just gets the ball and does whatever he can to get shots up. I think sometimes that hurts us. I mean, I was watching a game, I think it was either game 3 or game 4. The whole 24-second shot clock, he held the ball. No one else touched the ball that 24 seconds. I think we can't be having too much of that unless he's feeling it going for 40 a game. I think we got to spread the love a little bit, because I think every single one on the Celtics team could go for 40 plus, just like we saw earlier this season with D. White and Pritch. I mean, 90-something points combined when people are out. I mean, it doesn't matter who's scoring the rock as long as we can get the job done. So,
yeah, no, I agree with what you just said, because I think the great thing about the Boston Celtics is on any given night, anyone can score. I mean, you look down their lineup. Tatum could give you, obviously they look for Tatum and Brown. Then you have Porzingis, who could give you easily 30 on a night. Then you obviously see, like you said, Quincy, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard could easily give you 32 as they went for those 40 points that one night. So you look at that, and then you got another guy in Drew Holiday who could also give you a bunch of points. So I think it's the fact that the Boston Celtics can score. And it's going to be a lot easier this series. They had great defense against Peyton Pritchard, as you guys have already mentioned. He's going to have a better series now, and the Celtics are going to click. And my most notable thing is, a lot of people will be like, all right, regular season, you can't count it. But the Boston Celtics have dominated the Knicks all regular season long. I mean, they have dominated them in pretty much every single factor. It's not like the Magic where I'm like, okay, well, the Magic have beat us, and yeah, we could talk about injuries, da da da. But the Knicks, like, it's been a blowout all year long, So that's the most notable evidence I have towards this series. But I think ultimately, too, you're going to see a series where the Boston Celtics, they want it bad, but the Knicks also, I feel like they're not gonna want to, get swept by Boston. They're gonna want to put in a fight, because I mean, the Knicks consider themselves title contenders. You really got to play that into consideration as well. But I look at it like this. I think Cat. You guys already mentioned it. I think Cat is gonna, it's Karl Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson, you could lock him up, but and we mentioned this, on this was a long time ago, way before the Celtics Nation Rise presented by Celtics Talk Weekly era started. But this was way before that. We were making fun. I remember, I think it was after game one of the season, we had a podcast. Randy and the Caveman were on here, and we were making fun of Mikal Bridges' form. And we were just laughing about that the whole time. But there's so many factors for this Boston Celtics team that are just going to play to their best capability. But I want to go into this. I think we're ready for it. You guys ready for some predictions for the series? Are you guys ready to give some series predictions? I don't know. I'm feeling it. I already know my answer, but Seamus, I want to start off with you. What are your series predictions? Do you have it locked in yet, or do we have to move on to Andrew?
Okay, I think it's pretty evident. Like, look, when it comes to series predictions, right? It's like there's only four options. Like, it's like 4, 5, 6, or 7. Especially, well, I should say, I mean, maybe there's 8 options if you consider the other team as well. So there's 8, but 4 if you only believe in one squad, which I think unanimously here on the Celtics Nation Rise podcast, I'm gonna go with the Celtics in this series. And last series, I was looking at it, the way the Knicks played up until maybe game 5, I was thinking, well, I mean, even in that series, I should say that series, it didn't have too much of a negative or positive view on my prediction of what the series was ultimately going to be. Maybe it adds in a little bit something that the Knicks, like, okay, they just played a tough physical series that might grind them down just a little bit. 4 seems a little bit too ambitious for the Celtics because we already beat the Knicks. The Celtics already beat the Knicks 4 times this season. All right. So I'm thinking, okay, the Knicks, this iteration of the Knicks, they have to grab at least 1 in 8 games against this. Like, you're telling me the Celtics in 8 games against the Knicks are going to win every single one of those games? Looking at the odds, it's, I mean, fairly close. I mean, what the Celtics? I want to say they're minus 700 right now. So minus 700, like, let's just calculate that out real quick. So from the odds calculator's perspective, see, let's see. So minus 700 in this series for the Celtics would be. Sorry, folks. Let's just get up. Hey, maybe Action Network can give us a sponsorship here on the Celtics Talk Week. So implied odds on that would be 87.5%. So, I mean, that's basically 9 out of 10 times in which the Celtics could beat the. I mean, according to the market, 9 out of 10 times the Celtics should beat the Knicks. So technically, yes, you could see a scenario where the Celtics win all 8 games against the Knicks and sweep the Knicks. But I think the Knicks are going to get a game. I think the Knicks are going to win a game at either MSG. They could steal one at the Garden. We know the Celtics have actually been better on the road than at home this year. The playoffs, it's supposed to be a little bit different, but who knows with the Celtics team? They've been just a dominant road team all year long. They did win. They did lose a road game against the Magic. Got to consider that. Kia Center and the Magic fans, they were absolutely bumping that night. Major respect to the Orlando fan base for those games because whew, they really showed out. MSG is going to do the same thing for
We'll
sure.
say, my bad. They did throw confetti down on their one win.
Yeah,
No,
I think
it's the Magic. Like
Yeah.
here's the thing: we're gonna clown them for that.
But we did have we had a lot of Magic fans on, and they were all good people. And
yeah, they were.
But it's the standards, all right. It's the standards. Like
Yeah.
some people just have higher standards than others, and that's okay.
right.
And it's not a knock. It's just a factual statement.
It's not necessarily how we would do it, but to each is their own.
Well, they're also going to hang a banner for winning the Southeast Division this year.
No,
and
their
their record, I believe, was 41-41. Was that was the end record, the end result for the? They're going to hang a banner for going 41-41.
Can I say something though? Look, sorry for interrupting, Seamus.
My apologies too.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, but I look back and shout out to the Cortez podcast. I love that one. But I think I feel like, obviously Magic fan base has been declining. So I feel like this was the exposure they needed. So I'm saying good for the Magic. Good.
You're saying their
I
fan base
agree.
was declining?
I wouldn't say declining, but I'm saying like they needed this because I look at it and I'm like the Magic aren't declining, but like because they've been around forever. Remember the Shaq days and stuff when everyone was a Magic fan. But I'm saying they needed the exposure though. They did. That's what Cortez said.
No, it's true. They needed the exposure.
They were struggling.
But Hollywood, he came on here and he was like,
$3
"Hey,
a game."
Wait, $3?
30.
Oh, I thought you said $3. I'm like,
no. You can get into a New Orleans Pelicans game for about $4. Trust me.
Not the Sea Dogs.
New Orleans Pelicans.
You
Straight
can't
up.
even get into a Sea Dogs game for
I'm
$4.
playing.
But what were we even talking about just now? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It was the series predictions, but
Yeah.
I also wanted to add on to that point of Hollywood. He said the Magic fan base that's starting to uptick in Florida. It's starting to surpass the Heat fan. But we asked him a specific question on there about who runs Florida, the Magic or the Heat. Now, obviously, but this is where his perspective is a little unique. He lives in Miami, but he's from Orlando and he's a Magic fan, right? So obviously, there's going to be some blue blood within him. But at the same time, he did say the Orlando Magic fan base, it's growing in Florida, and it's maybe surpassing the Heat at this point in time. But
in some ways you could see it.
I would say so. In terms of the Magic fan base declining, we have opposite claims here. But in regards to this Celtics Knicks series, I would say it's a firm 5 games for me because I 8 in a row for the Celtics. I understand what the odds say via the market. 9 out of 10 times Celtics should win, but I mean, looking at 8 games, that's approaching 10 games. In there, I don't see the Celtics winning 8 straight games against this iteration of the Knicks. I think they're good enough to win at least 1 game within that stretch. 2 games seems a little like I could see a 6-game series from the standpoint of maybe we go up 3-1. They win game 5. Maybe they do win at the Garden. They win a game 5 at the Garden. The Celtics have been known to drop important home games in the past in the playoffs. They could do that and extend the series in that way to 6 games, but it's a firm 5 games for me. 6, 7 seems a little long, especially considering the whole minutes aspect of the Knicks in this series. I think by the time the series goes 5, I think by game 5 the Knicks are going to be exhausted. I think they're already exhausted from that Pistons series. It would have been nice to see the Pistons force a game 7 in that series because the Knicks would have just been absolutely fatigued coming into this series against the Celtics, but regardless, I think they're tired anyway. I think by the 5th game they're gonna peter out, and I think we're gonna see the Celtics win in 5. 6, 7 seems a little bit too long to me. 4 seems a little bit too short. It's like, are we really gonna handle them in 4 games after we didn't handle the Magic in 4 games? when the Magic couldn't score over 100 points in any of the games. I understand the Magic's defensive versatility and what we've been talking about here on this program, but with the Knicks' offensive capabilities and the talent in which they do have, like the Knicks are not. I mean, yes, they're missing Achua, but they're not really missing a major piece the way the Magic were. The Magic were missing Mo Wagner. They were missing Jalen Suggs. Those are two guys you're coming into the year with, and even playing part of the season with, knowing, okay, these are guys who are main facets of our rotation, especially Jalen Suggs. I mean, they were basically your third and fourth best offensive players on the Magic, and they weren't even in the lineup. The Knicks, they do have their full lineup outside of Achua, and they've been playing with this iteration of themselves for the entirety of the year without too much disruption. You know, Brunson did miss a slew of games there at the end. There were some injuries within the Knicks all season, but for the most part, the Knicks were healthy this year, and I think just from the chemistry, cohesion standpoint, the game planning standpoint from the Knicks, I think the Knicks are going to grab a game in this series, but I don't. 6-7 seems a little bit too long for me in this series, so I'm going to go Celtics in 5.
Yeah, to even add on to that, not even 6-7, like the Celtics, they went 0-10 versus Boston, versus Cleveland, and Oklahoma, like the top tier teams across the.
And it's like, when are they going to get a win? Like,
right.
they have to
so
get a
it's
win
like
somewhere
they have
in there.
to, right? Like it's like it feels
Like, they're not
almost,
the Sixers. Like, they're not.
yeah, no.
It's like,
it feels almost inevitable, right? So I'm gonna go with Seamus as well. Say they'll get it in 5. You know, I think that as a Celtics fan, you'd hope that I think you'd be a fool to say that the Celtics may have a game that they maybe not they don't wake up for, and they kind of are a little sluggish. They kind of play into the Knicks cards, and they give them a win, you know. And then from there, maybe it happens a little earlier in the series, maybe like that game 3ish, like the Magic, and then they just kind of, or not game 3, I think it was game 4, my bad, and they just kind of, Joe Mazzulla looks at him and he just gives him like a, what are you doing, guys? Let's figure it out. Let's get back to what we need to do, and then they'll just take off and win the series. So I mean, I'm gonna go 5. I'll keep it short and sweet. That's my take.
here you go. Right here, Celtics in 5.
Celtics and KG's number.
All right, I think as long as everyone stays healthy, I mean, I think it could go 5. If Holiday comes back, ready to go, but personally, I think it's going 6. I don't know. I just think I think something's gonna happen. I think the Knicks are. I mean, the Celtics are 20-4 versus the Knicks. I think that's a great record to have right now. The past 2 years or 3 years, but I think just the Knicks are going to steal one at the Garden, and I think they're going to get one at Madison Square Garden. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a 7-game series at all by any means. I definitely think the 5-6 range, but I'm just leaning towards a 6. I think the Knicks are just going to get 2. I don't know much more to say about that, but I just think the Celtics are. I mean, I don't know. Shouldn't give one up versus the Magic at all, at any means. But I don't know. Madison Square Garden, going there, that's a hard place to play in. That place is big, and they pack out really well. So I think nothing compared to Boston, obviously, but I think it's definitely going to be a good series, and I think it's going 6.
Well, I want to add on to this too. Oh, okay. No, Griffin is
Y'all
right on the same
sleeping.
page. He's right on the same page.
Y'all sleeping. You guys are sleeping.
Wow.
I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna say this. I got the 4. That's
No,
my.
we were not. No, first of all, Griffin, we were not on the same page. Never mind.
Yeah,
I was going to say Drew Holiday could 100% impact the series, but
I
I didn't know you were trying to make the 4 reference. The 4 reference.
That's what correlates to it though. But I think from an inner Celtics fan, I'm going Celtics in 4. I'm going Celtics in 4 because the blowouts. I'm going Celtics in 4 because I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling Celtics in 4 because I can't wait to get off this podcast and blast that Orlando Magic song with the Boston Celtics version. But
I hope you're right, though. I hope you're right. I want Celtics in 4.
Yeah,
I think something's gonna.
No, but I agree. I think at most it goes 6. I personally think I'm saying this is going to be a sweep. I really am. I think you could see it going 5, but I think the biggest factor, like I said, and this is where it came into play, is this guy right here. Does Drew Holiday play game 1? If he does, and he's fine, I'm saying Celtics in 4. However, if not, and he sits some games, I'm going Celtics could take this to a 6-game series for sure. I think if he sits one, or it could be a 5-game series. I think Drew Holiday, you saw it last year in the playoffs. He was I'm saying this, and this is a hot take. I feel like we've said it many times, but he was the reason for Banner 18. And you look at it, all right, KP has been helping. All right. He not much in the Magic series, but KP, all right, we got him. But Drew Holiday is our point guard. I mean, he is a great passer. He plays great defense. He could give you that corner 3. We need Drew Holiday in this series. So I think that's, again, Seamus, I think that's what you were looking at me for too. Drew Holiday does dictate this series, but I'm saying Celtics in 4. Seamus had the 5 up there. I gotta go Celtics in 4. I got someone had to do it. Someone had to go Celtics in 4. Someone had to. I'm saying someone had to.
Nobody had to go Celtics in 4.
Someone had to go Celtics in 4.
No.
We're Celtics.
Let Randy go Celtics in 4, and have everybody on the street go Celtics in 4. We don't need homerism on here. I understand. Me and Franco and I, we seem like homers, but we actually believe, like, okay, the Magic, they can't score over 100 points. Like, are we tripping right now? Like,
I don't. I just, it's hard.
It's hard to beat a game.
In all of basketball, since James Naismith invented it, not winning, like losing even like 3 in a row to a team is tough. I just don't see it. I don't see it.
All right, then.
Or I mean, even in 4 now, I just don't see it.
But see,
no, hey, that's your take.
I'll stand by my take, but I think this should we give the 4 to Randy, and should I bump up to 5? Should we give it to Randy?
You've
The Knicks are getting one.
Already gone.
Griffin, you're the passion behind your answer.
I have passion.
I love it. I absolutely
Drew
love
Holiday jersey for that.
I love it.
Listen, I think this though. The Boston Celtics, you guys gotta remember, they won Banner 18 last year, and they smell Banner 19. But I wanted to mention something too while we're kind of on this. So, like I said earlier, you guys saw it from this one. I was in Boston, you guys know it, but it's actually funny because I was in Boston, and yeah, I ended up on the news.
Oh my goodness!
He's famous.
So it's actually funny. They got me. I got myself at a crazy angle right now.
Where's the clip of that? Why can't we roll the clip?
I wish I could. Seamus, I should have asked you before.
We can. I mean, we can do it another time. It would take a minute to pop up here if we have. We could have time on the spot. But
here, Seamus, I'll send you the clip and see if Seamus can.
Like, do we even have? See, this is where it's like in media. You're like, what kind of rights do we even have to this? Like, it's Griffin, so it's like it's a video of yourself, but it's also somebody else's content.
It's an interesting
proposition. Whose rights?
I'm gonna.
While you guys are doing that, I want to say, do you think I feel like Porzingis, he didn't have as good of a series, I think, in the Magic. I think he has an opportunity to really step up because they're going to be playing that drop coverage. Maybe we can put, talent through screens. Like Porzingis can be able to pop. Maybe we can hunt out mismatches. So I think Porzingis could find himself really, really finding a groove and a rhythm for this series.
I could 100% see that as well. Plus, if you look at the 2 series, Porzingis, some of the problems that met Porzingis last series as well. There was a lot of physicality put on Porzingis, and he settled. This series, Andrew, you already said that there's going to be mismatch opportunities for Kristaps Porzingis to take advantage of, and I even think looking at the end of that Celtics Magic series, the game 4 and games 4 and 5 specifically, Kristaps Porzingis was starting to find his rhythm in those games a little bit. Now it almost was on theme with Kristaps on how sometimes in games he'll come out and score a bunch of points, score 10 points early, and then just isn't a presence throughout the rest of the game. That was a little bit like I believe game 4, he came out and scored 13 points in about 14 minutes in that game, so going into the second half or going into the second quarter of that game. But then he wasn't really seen for the rest of the night. Didn't even reach over 20 points in that game, or rather, he was either at 20 points exactly or was at 19. But regardless, you could see the scoring discrepancy in the first 14 minutes of the game. He scored 13 points in the rest of the game. He couldn't even score over 10 for the rest of the time he was out there. But regardless, we saw a lot more action where he was slipping screens, going to the rim, and finding himself other ways to score. I think that was important for Porzingis in that series when the Magic were being physical against Porzingis and not allowing him. There were not many mismatches out there for Porzingis in that series against the Magic. Some of the mismatches in which he did see was Gary Harris, Corey Joseph, maybe Cole Anthony at some moments in time. Cole Anthony was a little relegated within the Magic lineup because of his the lack of defensive versatility that Cole Anthony brought to that Magic team. But in some of the mismatches against the Magic, Kristaps Porzingis just did not take full advantage of, and even some of those mismatches were a little more physical on him. In this
You
Knicks
could see.
series,
You
I
could
think we're
see.
going.
Yeah,
I think
definitely
You
physical.
can see.
I mean, sure. I mean, yes. I mean that wasn't even from that was just from Goga Bitadze. I mean, but Goga Bitadze,
Yeah.
public enemy number 1 after this season. We had 2 interactions with KP. I know that the second one was intentional. It was unintentional. From my view, it
Dude
might have been
looked like a dick.
intentional.
Just
But
don't count out LK, baby. Don't count out Luke Cornett. That
Oh,
man's a
I-
beast. I don't think.
That's a good. No, that's a good. I mean, I could see.
I
him.
don't think anyone. I think they take out. If we take out Porzingis and they take out Towns to get a break, I don't think anyone's stopping Cornett. I really don't. I don't think anyone can stop Cornett and Horford when
I
Karl
mean,
Anthony Towns is off the court. I
yeah,
don't
we
think.
just
I think those two. I think Cornett can dominate that game by himself as well. I think he's just a big that people overlook. I think he is so overlooked at times where people are like Luke, like no one really hears about him, knows about him, but
Yeah.
that boy can play. He can get buckets too when he needs to. So I think you'll see him as well getting more minutes as the time goes on too.
and
Yeah.
Luke Cornett is a high energy guy too, and that could also play a huge factor in this series when you have guys like Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, the 2 bigs for the Knicks. If they're playing major minutes, specifically Towns, Cornett comes in there, say he's playing 10, 15 minutes. I mean, in those 10, 15 minutes, he can really be a guy that puts it to the Knicks when it comes to offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, all the little hustle plays in which we've seen from Cornett all season long, deterring passes, rolling to the rim hard, setting good screens at great moments, and the timing of Cornett's screens and his roles. We're going to
Yeah.
see all of that come out in this series, I think, as well. That was a great point that you made there, Quincy, because Luke Cornett, we have seen him feast in this matchup throughout the season. And I think the minutes factor is going to be a huge thing when it comes to Cornett actually taking advantage of the Knicks because their bigs are going to be playing a lot more minutes than our bigs. And when we slot in our third big in there, I mean, he's just going to be ready
Yeah.
to attack. But I did
Yeah,
want to say
and-
one more thing about Kristaps Porzingis here real quick. Mismatch opportunities going to be abundant in the Knicks series. The physicality is not going to be as much. And Kristaps Porzingis in the Magic series, he was starting to get his legs under him in terms of scoring in different ways. And I think this Knicks series, yes, he was awful in that Magic series at times, but I think he understands that this is the time of the season in which he has to turn up to a new level. I know the voices in the locker room, they understand, they keep each other accountable, and he knows that. And I think he's primed. This we forget. This is Kristaps Porzingis's former team in the New York Knicks. There's going to be ever more so motivation for Kristaps to go out and have himself a series, especially after playing a bad series against the Magic, not really taking care of the opportunities in which he knows he can take care of on the floor. But then in this series as well, just playing his former team. It's going to be at MSG, at least 2 games in this series. We'll see if there's a third game at MSG, but I think he's just primed to have himself one of his best playoff series of his entire career, even dating back to the Mavericks years with Kristaps Porzingis. And last year, obviously, he was out for most of that playoff run. But I think this matchup is definitely shaping up to be one that Kristaps Porzingis could dominate in multiple ways,
yeah,
no doubt. And
and
Cornette too. We're talking about
and,
Cornette too. Those
and
both
to
of those guys.
and to give you even more, add to the Porzingis, or whatever. He averaged like 24.5 points in this series, shot like 50% from the field, 45.5% from 3-point range, and had like a 34-point game. In that overtime winning in the Madison Square Garden. So it's just like it's right there. If I was betting, I'd probably bet on some overs for Kristaps.
Really quick too, Seamus, I sent you that really quick. So if you could try to work your magic. Quincy had a little segment for us though. What's your thoughts? What do you want to hear for predictions, Quincy?
I want to hear what we got. Eastern Conference Final and Western Conference Final. I want to hear what we think's gonna happen for us.
You want to start
in the
off?
near future?
Yeah, take it away.
One of you, whoever, start it off.
Oh,
I got wait.
Me?
Cavs, Celtics, Timberwolves, Thunder. They're. I don't know any other answer.
Yeah.
Cavs,
Go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah.
Wait,
Wait,
you guys all
maybe.
think that?
No,
I think the Warriors definitely are a team that
there's a lot of teams
you got to look out for.
Conference. There's a lot of like Clipper. Like, I don't know, man.
Who don't you want the Celtics to face though, Quincy? Who don't you want to see in the Western Conference? Western Conference, if that were the case, or even Eastern Conference Finals. Would you rather see a Pacers Celtics series, or would you rather see a Cavs Celtics series? I
think we beat if we face the Pacers, I think we beat them in 5. I think we maybe even sweep them. If we face the Cavs, I mean, I'm a little more worried. I don't think a team's going to beat us, but I think that they're a team that could go a 7-game series with us for sure. But I want it to be a Celtics Thunder final. I want our revenge, baby. Like regular season, that meant nothing to us. They got their joy and pride right then and there, and they'll lose it all. I'm sick of people saying Shea this, Shea that. Like, he's a free throw merchant, man. Like, he's only get his buckets through those free throws. Like, he's not the MVP at the end of the day. I'm sorry. It should JT. I think
Tatum. Yes.
Tatum's gonna be in the talk for sure. But I mean, you got a guy averaging a triple-double. I mean, it's got to go to him no matter how many years in a row it is. It's got to go to Jokic at the end of the day.
Yeah, Jokic or JT.
We should call this. We can just call this the Seavey segment right here.
The Seavey.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think that the Timberwolves. I mean, I'd like to see the Warriors beat the Rockets. I think playoff Jimmy's just fun to watch right now.
So you're all right. Sorry for interrupting with your take, but you're looking at this more as a basketball aspect. You want to see what would be more interesting rather than what would be easier for the Celtics.
Yes, for sure. I think the Celtics, no matter who's thrown at them, they're gonna beat. But I just kind of want to see a good turnout. I want to see something that's just like gets me out of my chair and I'm just like, wow, like this is a ball game here. Like it's a nail biter. I don't want like this 30-point win. Like I want something that's like, all right, let's go. Like I want to see something that's like excitement. Because I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just like 20 points. I mean, it's a big dub, but like I want to see something close. I want it to be a battle.
I want Banner 19.
I want Banner 19 too.
If we have 40-point blowouts, I love it. And if we have 20-point blowouts, I love it. I just want Banner 19. That's all I want.
Seamus, did we get the video?
Yeah, I was just about to announce, Griffin, your video is loaded.
Play it, Seamus. All right, hold on. Drum roll. Who's ready? Who's ready for the MVP?
Hopefully there's sound here. If there's not sound, well, this is a recording. We'll try it again, I guess, and then whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Let's try this. Ready? 1, 2. Well, let's just throw it
out. Feel good, JC. Think about it. This is a team that went into the locker room at halftime down by 2 points, and in the end, won 120-89. And as you all said, now all eyes are on who they will be playing next.
I'm feeling great. You know, we played great in that second half. Everyone wants that series, so it's time to beat the Knicks.
On X, fans anticipating the matchup between the historic franchises.
Do you guys hear what did I say?
Hey.
I called it. It was before that Detroit Knicks game. I said everyone wants to see the Knicks. It was a lot longer interview, but they obviously grabbed the clips. I showed them the Celtics tattoo and everything, but I called it. Everyone want that adds on to my take. So I'm happy, Seamus. You're a mastermind behind there, with your graphics and everything. So big
What a
shout out
guy.
to Seamus.
I am so afraid after we just played that video of the ramifications of what might pop up on the bottom of the video afterwards, and it might start with a terrible letter C. I don't know. I like the letter C, but it might be a terrible word that starts with the letter C. That's what I
I
meant to
hope
say.
not, but it's me. It's me.
Ugh.
So that's what I'm saying. It's me. It's literally me.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Some
like.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We shall see.
I'm saying it's me.
I don't know. Maybe I could have spiced it up a little differently, and I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll throw a football in the dark, see if it hits a tree. I don't know.
We're all right.
So
We'll golf in downtown St. Petersburg, Florida, and see if we hit any buildings or not. I don't know.
that's fair. No, but onto my take though. Like you guys agree that I think this. I was hyped up about that because I say if everyone wants to see this series. I mean, everyone and their mamas want to see it. Like, it's just it's you get out the popcorn because Celtics are winning in 4. That's my take on it. That's I don't have to say more. Get out the popcorn, Celtics in 4, baby.
Oh, I like it.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Celtics in 4. I'm gonna have to disagree on that. Knicks. Leave it for the street content. That's what I got to say about the Celtics in 4. Leave it for the street content. When you see the intro video for Celtics Talk Weekly, the post game shows, and I don't even know the kid at the beginning. He's just, who do you have? Celtics Pacers. Celtics in 4. Oh, who do you have? Celtics Cavs. Celtics in 4. It's like, you got Celtics all the way. Oh yeah, hell yeah. It's like, yeah, that's street content. That's street content.
I gotta say though, Celtics in 4, baby. But that we're getting close to the end of the show though. So anything you guys want to say? Any final takes?
Please, YouTube, don't send us that strike.
I got one thing to end us out on.
Yeah.
LeBron tried. Luka cried. Ant fried.
Wow. Those are some bars. Damn.
Yo, are you a rapper, Quincy?
Nah, I just don't. I'm not a big LeBron fan at the end of the day.
Okay, can we talk about? Can we add that on? Can we say? So I got added to this random Instagram Celtics group chat. I think I'm gonna add you guys all to it, but it's been annoying.
Oh no.
They just blow it up. I don't know a single person in there, but.
It's like, I don't know a single person. They blow it up. It's like, I'm gonna add you guys.
No, but they have been spamming it. Hold on, I'm gonna go to one thing. I don't even know if I can because they've been all day. That's why it's on mute. But like, I don't know who. I was happy to be added, but they've been just, oh my gosh, like look at this. This is just a bunch of Tatum shaking his head. Like, this is the most random group. But this morning it just blew up with Lakers. And I'm trying to find one. There was a funny.
No, that's like that's an annual holiday on Twitter when the Lakers.
That's what they say.
When the Lakers are eliminated, it's always it's an annual holiday on Twitter. I mean,
I think GRD bought. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was on a story. Bought like a bunch of beat LA flat.
Yeah.
He bought like 60 of them, thinking that LA might make it far.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, that was word of the street.
Oh, we'll save them for 2028.
There's always a few. Yeah, there's always a pause. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that, Quincy?
Celtics LA. Everyone wanted to see the old matchup. I think that's a big thing people wanted, but
yeah,
maybe next year.
What's so funny is like 3.5 weeks ago, we're like Celtics Lakers. Like the Lakers just beat the Thunder. That might actually. Not even close.
Seamus, when we were having this discussion. When we were having this discussion that night, I said there's no way the Lakers get there. I said it too. And you and Franco, I think, were like, oh well, it could happen. It could happen. No, it can't.
Well, now it can't.
Now
see, like you look in hindsight at the Lakers, and it's seriously like, it's like, wait a minute, how did they dupe us into believing? It's like Luka and LeBron, like just their reputation alone duped everybody into believing that maybe it's like JJ Redick, it's like very gimmicky scheme, like they're so smart they'll be able to figure. It's like no, they don't have a big. LeBron is 40. Luka is out of shape. They're playing 5 guys for the entirety of the second half in Game
Yeah, that was
4
crazy.
in Minnesota.
Yeah.
But it's like that people call it crazy, but it's like where else are they even looking to? Like that's where their lineup versatility was just
Give
it
it
was they
Bronny.
needed Jordan
Bronny.
Goodwin in the lineup. They went away with from Jordan Goodwin. They should have played him a little bit more. But it's just like it's like Luka and LeBron's like they're these basketball geniuses. And it's like they'll be able to figure it out. Redick. It's like I'm a part of the cast who was saying that coming into the playoffs, and then it's like okay, they don't have a big. They're playing the same they're playing the same 5 guys the entirety of the second half of Game 4. Luka is out of shape, clearly out of shape in the back portions of these games. LeBron is 40. He picks and chooses where he wants to play and where he doesn't. And it's like, yeah, this Lakers team, look, you just in the playoffs, lineup versatility and depth is just so important. And Minnesota, for as many of the offensive issues as I've seen with them all season long, they have lineup versatility, they have depth, they have good big men, as we saw in that Lakers series, who weren't played off the floor, specifically Rudy Gobert, who we all thought, oh, the Lakers are just going to pick him apart. But well, 20 and 20 in his last game in that series to close it out. And in a big spot, too, I will say, where the Minnesota Timberwolves, they should have absolutely rolled the Lakers. Well, let's talk about this. The Lakers rolled over in that Game 5, but it seemed close because the Timberwolves shot 7 of 47 from 3. If you look at all the margins of the games, the rebounding battle, the turnover, the Wolves were winning every single margin within the game. And then they were shooting 7 of 47 from 3. They were dominating in the paint as well. But they shot 7 of 47 from 3, and that's why they didn't win that game by 15 to 20 points. Otherwise, the Wolves would have absolutely blown out the Lakers in that game. But just looking at what the Wolves have and what the Lakers have, it was evident from Game 1. I mean, Game 1 was like, oh, this is gonna be an uphill battle for the Lakers, and Luka and LeBron are gonna have to be truly something special. Well, guess what? When Luka, when he's on that American food diet, and LeBron is 2 decades older than when he came into the league, well, I they're not going to be at their best, and that's not what we saw in that series, unfortunately. And that's why I'm pretty high on Minnesota. Quincy, you asked about the conference finals. I don't see another world where it's not. I don't see where it's not OKC, Minnesota, Cleveland, Boston. I did come to the playoffs pretty high on the Pacers. I think the Pacers could actually give the Cavs a series, and I think that series could be a series where you flip the narrative for the Pacers one way or the other. The Pacers are either going to be just in that 4, 5, 6 category with like, okay, we understand you were probably the better of those teams this year, Pacers, but you're not quite on the level of the Celtics or Cavs. If the Pacers actually win that series, they're now going to be thought of as, maybe a move away from being. I mean, they might already be considered a title contender if they beat the Cavs, but they might be one move away from actually thinking they could win the championship if they win the series against the Cavs. I think the Pacers are going to have a chance to win this series, but ultimately, I think the Cavs chemistry, their options on the floor. Darius Garland, we'll see. Darius Garland, that's actually not something people are talking a ton about, but he's not going to be healthy to start that series. But ultimately, I just think the defensive capabilities of the Cavs and offensive capabilities are going to overrun the Pacers at certain moments in this series. And I think the Cavs are going to come out victorious, and they're going to be in the conference finals when all's said and done. And then the Celtics, we've already talked about the Celtics and Knicks series here, given all of our predictions. So I see the Celtics and Cavs certainly, but on the other side, the Warriors and Rockets, that series, it's weird because coming into the playoffs, you're thinking, oh, these, like it could go either way. Like the young team with more depth, more versatility, more quickness, more athleticism versus the more experienced team who might have more talent at the top, more options at the top, but their depth is really, really thin. Both of those teams I just see with major flaws, keeping them from going further on in the playoffs. The Rockets clearly have an issue when it comes to the crunch times of games when they just don't know who they're supposed to be going to. They've gone with Şengün. I've leaned more on the, hey, go down to Şengün, let him create some of the offense, let him be a passer out of the post. But let's face it, I mean, he's 22 years old. He's still a very young player in this league. And then outside of him, you have Fred VanVleet, who I feel like is a little bit of a shot chucker with the Rockets. Dylan Brooks, you don't want him manning the offense down the stretch. Jalen Green, he is just wildly
He's a roller coaster,
inconsistent, and
dude.
he's just not an efficient shooter. Amin Thompson, he's not an efficient creator or shooter yet, and you just don't have the efficient creator or the shooters for the Rockets, what they need down the stretch of games in order to make it multiple rounds in the NBA playoffs. Whereas the Warriors, I just see their depth as a hugely detrimental thing. When you have Curry, he's dealing with a thumb injury. You have Jimmy Butler, he's dealing with an, I don't know, what is he dealing with? An ass injury right now, whatever he's dealing with after he took that fall. Those two players, they're a little compromised right now. And if those guys are compromised, that is a huge bite out of the Golden State Warrior rotation, because they seriously do not, like, near the end of the season, they just decided, oh, we're not going to play Kuminga. And I think everybody was sitting around going, how can you not play Kuminga? You don't have anybody else to play. He's a versatile forward you could actually throw out there. He's not a great shooter, not a great offensive player, but in terms of his defensive versatility and hustle and rebounding, Kuminga is a guy you have to play for the Warriors because you don't have any other options. And that's the problem with the Warriors I see, is that they're just very, very thin. A lot of Quentin Post minutes in the Rockets series.
Can I say, though?
It's insane.
Can I say I don't want to see the Warriors as a Celtics fan?
No, they don't have. I'm sorry. They
I
are
got one
old. They're
son.
older. They're older. They don't have the depth. I understand. This is another one of those cases where it's like you see the names at the top. They were great the second half of the season, but when you get into a playoff series where you're trying to pick apart every little thing and you're trying to gain every little advantage you can against an opponent, the Warriors just do not scare me against. They don't scare me against the Timberwolves, and they don't scare me against the Celtics. I mean, forget the finals and forget the Celtics. It'd be nice to see the Celtics face off with the Warriors in the finals, because I think the Celtics would go in there and absolutely whoop their ass. And from that would be a great get back from what happened in 2022.
You're right.
But I think Minnesota, they have more versatility, more lineup flexibility, just more depth in general than the Golden State Warriors, more options to defend the Warriors, more options to score against the Warriors. And let's face it, Ant is just an ascending star in this league, one of the best players in the NBA right now. And in that series, you could definitely make an argument that, yes, you have Steph Curry, yes, you have Jimmy Butler if you're the Warriors, but Anthony Edwards might be the best player. I shouldn't even say might be. He will be the best player in the series, by the way. He's trending, and the way those two are trending. They're a little older. Obviously, they're banged up right now. And Anthony Edwards, he's out there walking in the streets of LA talking shit to everybody. So he had two completely different dynamics there. OKC, the thing about OKC is they're going to have a week's worth of rest at least going into that either Clippers or Nuggets series. You're talking about an OKC team who just closed out the Grizzlies in 4 games. Their first game was a 51-point blowout at home. And yes, they had to come back from they played 2 tough games in Memphis. They had to come back down from that 29-point deficit, and then in game 4 they obviously only won by 2 points, the Thunder did, over the Grizzlies, but they sweep that series. They're going to come into next series with a week's worth of rest. And the Nuggets and Clippers, on the other hand, whoever comes out of that Nuggets Clippers series, they're going to have a path in which they have already experienced the emotional peaks of the playoffs and some of the downfalls of the playoffs, where you think the Nuggets, they're up 3-2, and then all of a sudden, and they're going to game 7 at home. And then the Clippers, they were almost up 3-1. And then they experienced the game winner, the Aaron Gordon game winner, and then they don't go up 3-1 there. It's 2-2, and then all of a sudden the Nuggets have a 3-2 series lead. So essentially, within the Nuggets Clippers series, the wear and tear in which both of those teams have experienced in that series versus a rested Oklahoma City Thunder team who just won 68 games. 68 games is no joke, folks. 68 games is the record. The Celtics franchise record for wins in a regular season is 68 wins. The Thunder just won that this season. The last time the Celtics won that many games was in 1972-73. I mean, that is a long time ago. We're talking a whole different, like the 80s Celtics never did it. The 2010 Celtics never did it. This 2020s Celtics still hasn't done it yet. And Oklahoma City Thunder, they put up a win total like that in the regular season. Obviously, the playoffs, it's a much different animal, but this OKC team is for real. Their versatility is off the charts. Their offense, we'll see how it develops later in the playoffs. I think a potential series between the Timberwolves and Thunder, that could really be interesting. I think the Timberwolves could take out the Thunder in that scenario. But in terms of just looking at the conference finals and not the finals right now, I do see OKC and Minnesota facing, and then I see the Cavs and Celtics facing. And then I think the most horrific scenario in which could come out of those conference final series for the league would definitely be Wolves versus Cavs. In any scenario, it'd be the worst market matchup for the NBA, but they're going to have that chance because I do think we're going to see the Wolves and Thunder in the Western Conference Finals, and I think we're going to see the Celtics and Cavs out east. I don't see another perspective out there where you could make. I could see other cases people want to make for other teams, but I just think there's too much going against teams that aren't the four in which I just named.
There will be a fight. There will be a fight in the Timberwolves Warriors game. Calling it right now. There will be a bench clearing. There will be something between those two teams. Draymond Green and Anthony Edwards going at it, or Rudy. Someone's going at it there. But one thing I do want to say is Steph Curry in the talk of being the GOAT if he wins another championship this year?
I think he was already in the conversation of that when he won in 2022. So if he wins again, I mean, it would just further that point.
Especially with like the Ross. I mean, obviously he has Butler, but like
I'm saying hell no. Yo, sorry, Andrew. No, go, Andrew. I'll say my take after.
No, Griffin, you already gave out your take. You just said hell no.
All right, but I have something funny. Just Andrew, go. Andrew, go. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not. The GOAT conversation is a long and lengthy conversation, and it's
for another night.
There's a lot of ways to go with it. I mean, I don't know about. I mean, yeah, sure, he can be up there, and I think he'd have to take even a larger, load to bring him to that championship. But I mean, go to point guards, we'll give him that. He's up there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm gonna say this: the night that we have that Curry GOAT take, Lewis needs to be on this podcast. If you guys don't know, please go to the Instagram Reels and just look for Lewis's face and just go watch it. You'll have a good chuckle. I promise you will have a good laugh if you go look at that. But I think that's going to wrap it up because the game is actually starting soon. So I think you guys want to go watch that one too. It's going to be a fun one. But I want to say it doesn't matter who comes across. Celtics are winning it all. Banner 19 this year. You heard it here. You heard it here first, actually. Banner 19. Banner 19, we're going. We're
said that on the post game the other night.
I don't care. You heard it here first once again. All right. But
anyway, you've heard it several times.
You heard it several times. And heard it for the first time on here.
No,
multiple times. Oh no, yeah, the first is I don't know about.
I don't know. It's just Banner 19. I'm ready for it. But anyways, make sure to subscribe to Celtics Nation Rise and go subscribe to Celtics Talk Weekly. We're doing a lot of things this playoffs. We are covering the team left and right, and we might have a special too on Celtics Nation Rise on Sunday. I'm trying to get something going with a Knicks fan. We're not going to talk about that too much because obviously we're waiting, but make sure to tune in after the games for the recaps as well, and go to Celtics Talk Weekly for the post-game show. And lastly, we will see you guys definitely on Wednesday for the podcast. So make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications because we're giving you that playoff content. Thank you guys so much again for watching. We will see you guys soon. Peace, guys.